I was in the kitchen that morning, waiting for the kettle to finish its slow, stubborn boil. It's an old thing, made of steel with a thin copper rim. It whistles with a hesitant sigh, like it's thinking about giving up, but hasn't quite decided yet. I like that about it. The sun came in pale and careful through the window above the sink, catching the dust motes in lazy lines. Bare branches cast thin shadows across the counter. The floorboards creaked softly under my weight, settling into the day as if the house itself were breathing. I've had mornings like this for more than 50 years in this house. Mornings where the only company was the kettle and the quiet insistence of time moving, unhurried. I'm Walter, 87 now. My wife would have laughed at that number, said I should slow down. She's been gone 7 years. I still find myself glancing toward the empty chair at the table, half expecting her to comment on the light or the neighbor's dog barking. That habit of turning, of speaking to an absence, lingers like a small echo in my chest. I set my cup on the counter, the one with the tiny chip along the rim. Been meaning to replace it for years. Funny, the things we hold on to. I used to be a doctor, internal medicine, long nights, longer hours. I never made it sound glamorous, and it wasn't. But I saw a lot of human fragility, a lot of fleeting moments that determined outcomes in ways people rarely understood. Sometimes it feels like that part of my life whispers in the quiet of the house, reminding me what it means to pay attention. I reached for the kettle, my right hand, my hand, the one I'd use to hold charts, instruments, even newborns in my arms, didn't respond. It hovered, distant, almost foreign. I tried again. Nothing. The handle slipped. The kettle tipped, clinking softly against the counter. The sound felt off, like a discordant note in an otherwise familiar song. A strange sensation ran across my face, subtle, like a tugging on one side of a mask. I raised my hand to my mouth and realized I couldn't quite move the muscles as I wanted. Swallowing felt thick, awkward, uneven. The reflection in the window caught my eye. One side of my face sagged, just slightly, but it was enough. Enough to make the room feel narrower, even though the walls hadn't moved. For a moment, I simply stood there, listening to the kettle's quiet final hiss, the floorboards, the pale sunlight stretching across the linoleum. My heart didn't hammer, it didn't jump. It went still, as if some small inner clock had paused to measure the truth of what was happening. I thought of the patients I'd guided through sudden crises, through confusion and fear. I'd seen panic take them faster than the illness ever could. And in that brief, suspended silence, I realized something profoundly simple and terrifying. The clarity of awareness can arrive just as sharply as the danger itself. It dawned on me slowly, step by step, like water filling a vessel I had not noticed was empty. My hand, unresponsive. My face, slackening. My throat, hesitant. Each tiny sign was a thread, and they were weaving the same tapestry I had seen countless times in the hospital, in emergency rooms lit with harsh white lights, where minutes had meant everything. And then I knew, not hoped, not guessed, knew. This is a stroke. I was alone, no one else in the room, no one anywhere nearby. The realization pressed down with a weight that made the air feel heavier, the seconds stretch and tremble. The house seemed to quiet itself even further, as though it understood the gravity of the moment. Time had suddenly become urgent. Every second counted in a way I had never considered when I was younger, when life had seemed to promise itself without warning. Now, standing there, aware and unassisted, I felt the full measure of that truth, and that was all I could hold. I sank slowly, letting my weight settle low, feet searching the tiles for something steady. The cold pressed against my legs, a quiet, biting reminder that I was very much here, very much real. My heart hadn't jumped, but there was an alertness, a tautness, threading through my chest. Panic would make it worse, I knew that. I had seen it undo people in rooms like this, and I would not let it undo me. I breathed deliberately. In through the nose, slow enough to feel it fill the hollows of my lungs. Hold. Let it linger. Count 2, maybe 3. Out through the mouth, long, careful, letting the air carry away the first tremors of fear. I repeated it over and over until the rhythm became a quiet metronome in the otherwise tense silence. A slight shift in my left shoulder, gentle, calculated. My head tilted fractionally, not to force blood anywhere, just to remind my body that it still listened, still responded to the soft commands of will. My fingers twitched, just reminders, little pulses of life. I noted them, quietly, without surprise. Minutes slipped slowly, heavy, stretching in ways that made the house itself seem suspended. The refrigerator hummed, the wind whispered through the bare branches outside, and every sound was magnified, each one a landmark in the stretch of time. I counted internally, not numbers, not consciously, just a sense of duration. 1 breath, 2, another cycle. The seconds held weight. The world narrowed to awareness, to presence, to what could still be influenced. Finally, I reached for the phone. My movements were measured, cautious. I felt the floor beneath my palms, the tension in my forearms as they supported me, the faint vibration of my pulse in my temples. Numbers pressed under my fingertips, deliberate, slow. My voice carried the clarity I needed. "This is Walter Hayes. I'm having a stroke." No hesitation, no plea, just a statement. The waiting felt vast. I counted the breaths in between, keeping the rhythm, steadying the core of my being. The world outside the house went on, cars passing, distant voices. But inside, time had become a substance I could touch, manipulate. Awareness was the only tool I had, and I held on to it with all I could muster. Then came the distant whir of sirens. A knot of relief and tension twisted in my chest, each beat a reminder of fragility and luck. Footsteps followed on the porch, crisp and purposeful. Faces appeared, calm, experienced, and in that instant I felt the familiar pass of responsibility from my own hands to theirs. I allowed it, fully. I was still alert, still aware, still myself, and that awareness mattered. The ride to the hospital was quiet, more observation than experience. Trees and signs blurred past the window. The stretcher was firm beneath me. I focused on my breathing again, the slow rise and fall, counting each one like a sentinel over myself. The small sensations of motion, of temperature, of light striking the ceiling became anchors in the blur of movement. Inside the hospital, I lay among white walls and brisk footsteps, the smell of antiseptic mingling with something softer, human. Voices moved around me, nurses, doctors, organized, precise. I didn't try to track them all, just observed the rhythms, the motions. The room was alive with motion, yet I was still. I noticed the hum of a monitor, the distant echo of a trolley on linoleum. Hours passed, though I did not watch them closely. When it was over, when the staff finally allowed me quiet, I realized the damage was minimal. My hand moved, my face moved. The symmetry of my body, my small autonomy, had returned almost intact. Each deliberate moment, each conscious breath, each careful adjustment on that kitchen floor had mattered more than I could measure. Later, lying in a bed with sunlight slanting through blinds, I reflected. People waste those first minutes. They move, they panic, they fail to notice the small, critical windows that can shape everything. I had experience, yes, but mostly I had attention, awareness, the patience to hold myself steady in the seconds that truly counted. Time is slippery. We measure it in hours and days, but the truth is in the fractions, the small moments we spend noticing, breathing, adjusting, deciding. Those early minutes held power beyond comprehension. I had learned that once again. And the house, the quiet, the morning sun, Margaret's absent voice, it all lingered with me, a reminder that life is both fragile and extraordinarily precise. Life, I realized, is never about the grand sweep alone. It is about noticing, responding, and valuing each deliberate moment. In the quiet, in stillness, time can be preserved, stretched, redeemed. And if you pay attention, really pay attention, it can be enough.